Okay, so welcome to today's segment of the Third Testament Foundation live stream. And today, we're going to talk about talent kernels. What are they, and where are they? What do they do? And if we start with this symbol by Martinez, and before we go any further, let me just state that all symbols are copyright of Martinez Institute. So, got that out of the way. If we look at this symbol, we see that there are some dots or colored circles here in the super consciousness of the being. Again, we have, if we just see, we have the white triangle is the eternal I, the X1, and then we have the X2 with the 6 different colored circles, which is the creative power of the living being, and then we have X3, the manifest or created world, or X3, the world of forms, with all the organisms and bodies and stuff and matter. So if we look inside X2, we see that we have these 6 colored circles, which represent the 6 talent kernels of the different basic energies. So we have talent kernels for each of the basic energies. Red is instinct energy, orange is gravity energy, yellow is feeling energy, green is intelligence energy, blue is intuition energy, and light indigo is the energy of memory. So the way Martinez explains the forming of talent kernels is that once they're formed, they're eternal, right? We keep building on them. So even though you die, you still have your talent kernels. You carry them with you from life to life. So the way they're formed, Martinez explains, is like in 3 phases. He calls it A knowledge, B knowledge, and C knowledge. So the A phase is when you want something, you long for it, you're hungry for it, you're wishing for something. That's the A stage. Then the B stage is you start practicing what you're hungry for, and that you practice, and in this phase of repetition, you get better and better at what it is that you want to develop, or this whatever you have the hunger for to satiate. Yeah. And then once you have repetitiously trained this skill, you arrive at the C stage, which is the genius stage, where you have perfected a talent. So then this talent kernel is within your superconscious mind, in your eternal part of yourself, is a living being is incarnating in this talent kernel. So your talents are actually living beings on a microcosmic scale. And that's very important, because talent kernels are living beings. So they, at a certain point, these talents become automated by instinct energy, and then they function as out of our day conscious awareness. What's also important to look at, before I'm going to read a part of a talk that Martinez gave in 1949 that I just translated, and before we go through that, let's just look at this symbol here, because we see that there are different spiral cycles. Each belonging to different resolution, right, of size. So we have in the middle, the D resolution is the human being resolution. So that's the spiral cycle belonging to the human being, right, where we are at. We see this white stairway going, getting bigger and bigger. So in evolution, we go counterclockwise in the spiral, right, and in evolving. We see that beyond our size, we have the next evolutionary spiral cycle up is planetary beings, like Earth would be a planetary being. And then next spiral cycle up, we have solar beings in that. And then the next one up is galaxies, and so forth. It continues infinitely in size. And also, if we go from human resolution one level down, we have organs, and Martinez states that organs also have their own eye. Organs and endocrine organs too have individual identities or eyes that live and experience life. And then if you go a level down, we have cells, and a level down we have atoms. And then if you go a level down more, we have the same principle of galaxy repeating. So these 7 principles keep repeating. Likewise, you would have above galaxy, you would have the particle or atom level principle one more time. So infinitely into a microcosm and infinitely up in macrocosm, we have these 7 principles repeating in cells. And now we're gonna go read what Martinez, a little excerpt from a talk that he held in 1949, and he talks about the light and the dark guardian angels of planet Earth. So, and then he tells us that these are actually talent kernels that are incarnated in planet Earth, or what he calls the Earth being. And let's see what he has to say about that. There it is. The death of the dark guardian angel. So this is just an excerpt. It was in April of 1949 that he gave this talk, Martinez. So this is a transcription, and I translated it into English. The cosmic truth about the devil is that he is the guardian angel for power or dictatorship and a talent kernel in the consciousness of the earth being. He represents a principle that the earth being willfully is leaving, but naturally this cannot happen all at once, but only through a gradual degeneration which progressively leads to the death of this guardian angel, that is, its disappearance from the consciousness and organism of the earth being. This form of habit consciousness, represented by mentioned talent kernel or guardian angel, the earth being now seeks to consciously defeat in its own mind. However, ancient habits deeply rooted in the consciousness take great willpower and concentration to overcome. This guardian angel of darkness is nonetheless actually dying away from the consciousness of Earth, and the Earth being is in the process of prioritizing another principle. Everything sourced in the thought climates of neighborly love, cooperation, and democracy. So we have to think about talent kernels and what they are, and they're actually like we can generate talent kernels just by thinking. We human beings, we can think things, and we know that through neuroscience, we now know that we keep thinking the same things, we actually generate neural networks that strengthen the same type of associations within these neural networks, and it develops into generalizes within the in the neural networks of the brain, and we can actually generate new neurons and through repetition, and that's something with gamma waves, and in the brainwave state that gamma waves are conducive to forming of new neural uh, cells. So what is a similar process is the Earth being, planet Earth, is in the process of relinquishing these old ancient thought climates that it's been thinking for eons, and that is what Martinez calls the dark guardian angel. And now it's longing for the light guardian angels, which are the thoughts of neighborly love and compassion, and all the light that comes with cosmic consciousness. So it's really have made up its mind. It's want to help and be a loving planet, and that's why it's in the process of cleansing its consciousness fields or other dimensions from these lower vibrating talent kernels. So these talent kernels have been used for eons, but now they're dying away. So that's what's going on according to Martinez. So the killing principle is under no circumstances going extinct. That was a little typo here. So the killing principle is under no circumstances going extinct among terrestrial mankind today, one might oppose. Apparently not, but the powerful unfolding of the killing principle today is really the same as a burst of a flame right before it dies out. Dying beings display a measure of opposition against death, an opposition that sometimes plays out as a powerful show of force, as a sort of cramp, where you see these animals have death spasms, right? That's what's happening to the guardian angel of the principle of power, and thus to the old principle of redemption into darkness, that through a long period has been absolutely necessary in order for terrestrial mankind to evolve, in order for it to learn the difference between good and evil. At the same time, however, as one of the main talent kernels is dying away in the consciousness of our macro being, another one is progressively being born, which means that the earth being will experience the great birth, and the true human kingdom will manifest as a physical and spiritual reality to human beings. The guardian angel of light is rooted as a talent kernel in the consciousness of the earth being, and has begun to incarnate in the physical organism of this being, and like the dictatorial guardian angel's physical incarnation constitutes beings spanning from meat-eating plants to animals and terrestrial human beings who worship battle and power and dictatorship, the organism of the light angel progressively being formed by all those people who bit by bit naturally would be able to constitute its microbeings, because the vibrations of neighborly love and understanding control their minds. It is from these talent kernels of neighborly love in the consciousness of the earth being that the world redeemers representing the light world redemption come from. the core of the higher religions, that is, their message of neighborly love and teachings of the importance of prayer or focus on God source, are impulses that come from this light guardian angel, behind which more and more focus is placed through the will of the earth being. So this is what the earth being or planet earth is hungry for now, right? This is what it's longing for, and that's why that's the inevitable future for the planet. More and more light coming in, more and more of God's source shining through. So this is unavoidable. So we're the best is yet to come, right? A collection of light beings with cosmic consciousness who belong to the same evolutionary spiral as terrestrial mankind are present within the earth being's spiritual bodies, which are the spiritual worlds that people experience after dying. These spiritual beings are spiritual talent kernels of the guardian angel of light mentioned before. They are here as bearers of a cosmic impulse from higher worlds, that is, planets with cosmic consciousness, and thus represent providence or the thought world of God Source itself, with which they are one. We do not need to know these beings by name or identity. They are the tools of God Source within the consciousness of the earth being, and when we pray to God, we are effortlessly brought into contact with these beings and their helpers. Indeed, the individual human being can itself progressively become one of their helpers. So, I thought this was an interesting little excerpt because when we look at this um, difference in uh, uh, evolutionary leap. There's a whole spiral cycle of difference between human beings here in the D and planet Earth in E. But it's the same principle that takes place when we practice something and repetitiously uh, commit things to memory, practice, practice, practice. Living beings, micro beings, incarnate in uh, our consciousness as talent kernels, right? Centers of talent. He also calls them power centers or uh, spiral centers. So uh, these centers in our consciousness, um, that's how we evolve. We develop more and more talents, right? We become better and better at doing things. So this is how evolution goes forward. So more and more living beings actually incarnate within our consciousness, and that's how we grow. So similarly to Earth, planet Earth, the Earth being, right? There are actually beings that have cosmic consciousness that are in the same evolutionary spiral cycle as us, okay? And they are talent kernels in the spiritual world of the Earth, of planet Earth. And that's where the light guardians come from. That's how God Source communicates with us, and that because there's a downstepping of very high oscillating, vibrating energy to a more digestible energy vibration that we can perceive. Yeah, so there's this downstep. So if we look at the principle, and now we can just kind of extrapolate what he says, right? He says, okay, there are beings on planet Earth incarnating in the consciousness of the planet, which are these spiritual worlds that when we die we go into the spiritual bodies of earth. That's the spiritual worlds that we perceive and live and experience when we die or during sleep, or some people can even consciously, you know, take these inner journeys to these spiritual planes and remember them when they come back and use their physical body again. So this is the same principle. So this is what's happening. So what is it? What's if we try to extrapolate what's happening when we develop talent kernels in our consciousness, in our spiritual bodies, our energy fields? What's happening then? Well, is it these beings one spiral cycle under, that is organ beings that are incarnating, eyes of organ beings that are incarnating in our spiritual bodies? I don't know, but that's how it works between earth and human being body. But there's, I don't know, there might be a more of a difference in size, relative size. You know, like humans are really small. Martina says like human beings are the nervous system of planet Earth. Human beings are nerve and sexual cells of planet Earth, he says. So cells actually, so we should be going, maybe it's like a logarithmic scale, so we have to go 2 down from humans. Maybe it's cells incarnating, like nerve cells and stuff incarnating, nerve beings incarnating in our neural networks and stuff like that. So before I get out into much theoretic stuff, I think we'll leave it at that today, and hope to see you next week on the live stream with the Third Testament Foundation, and see you soon. Stay safe.